SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back to the session on signages and wayfinding. This would be our third lecture in this series, which is planning of effective signages. My name is Sneh. I'm an associate professor at Manipal University, Jaipur. We'll be taking this to the lecture to signages to the planning and effective signages. In this lecture, we will be studying about the building a business case for signages and wayfinding project, transit trip layout, building analysis, nomenclature and numbering system, collaborative planning with other disciplines, and evacuation plan and exit signages. Before we start with the session, let's take a quick recap or a revision of what we have read in the last lecture. We talked about in the last lecture about signages and wayfinding tools, where we explored various signages and wayfinding tools, including technology integration. We also studied the principles guiding effective wayfinding strategies. We examined signages effectiveness in terms of visibility, legibility, readability, and conspicuity. We analyzed the role of colors in signages and wayfinding applications. We discussed the importance of color selections in safety signages for clear communication. We also recognize the significance of color choices in enhancing the functionality and effectiveness of the color of the signage system. Now, we also covered the safety signages and the color selection. Now, with this lecture, we'll be studying about planning processes of signages and wayfinding. So let's start. Planning of effective signages. In many different projects, from small scale private building to a major public infrastructure projects such as airports, train stations, signages and wayfinding designs are essentials. Securing funding for a large scale referring projects can be difficult when presenting a business case for it. However, one can present a strong case by highlighting the significance of signages and wayfinding with following important details to put in their business case. Let's get into the first topic, which is cost benefit to wayfinding. Give background information that shows how effective wayfinding system can serve and can save the money. We have to show how spending money on wayfinding and signages can increase efficiency, lower cost, and make the user experience better. Let's take an example. Shopping center complex has a installed comprehensive wayfinding system through the help of signages consultant, due to which a customer inquiries dropped. They also saved staffing cost, improved navigation, increased traffic footfall, and sales revenues. Balancing implementation cost. Now, improvements for accessibility. We need to highlight the significance of developing and implementing inclusive wayfinding solutions in building, emphasizing how incorporating appropriate information and technology can enhance accessibility for individuals with diverse needs, fostering inclusivity and improving overall user experience. What are the problems in the user experience? Identify common challenges that user faces, existing wayfinding system of the building, utilize research and technology to pinpoint areas where improvements are needed, aiming to enhance user satisfaction and streamline navigation within the building environment. For example, a large office complex had wayfinding issues, especially for employees and visitors. We have done a survey and used feedback which showed that the poor signage caused confusion and delays finding the meeting room and the offices. The same was reported for the complex authorities, and after identifying the needs for clear directional signages, intuitive floor plans and digital navigation aids added, which improves the building movement and satisfaction by analyzing these challenges. Once it was implemented, the result was clearly visible. Implementation of the solution. Carefully planning and putting in place the right wayfinding system can help in solving these problems. For example, a building with a business case, we need to talk about how improving station layout and putting up clear signages one can get rid of confusions, which can feed to fewer complaints and work getting done by staff easily. Impact on customer satisfaction. It is suggested that making it easier for people to find their way will directly lead to higher levels of customer satisfaction. A corporate office back updated its signages and navigation aids. The building got improved. Tenant and visitors' experience was also improved. Due to its convenience and user friendliness, more business choices chooses the complex, increasing tenant satisfaction and occupancy rate. We need to highlight these benefits in our business case. Now, let's go to the transit trip layout. In the process of planning transit flow, it's vital to break down the entire trip into manageable segments. This approach allows for more detailed examinations for each segment within its special context, which is partially beneficial for complex trip. By segmenting the journey, it becomes easier to create cognitive maps for each segment, aiding in navigation and orientation. Let's take an example. It is considered a bustling railway station where passengers navigate through the various areas are very complex. When designing the layout for transit trip, it's critical to understand the flow of both inbound and outbound passenger. Inbound passengers commence their journey from origin point and proceed to the transit drop-off point, then make their way to the transit facility in trains, waiting areas or platforms. From there, they move to the coach identification areas and ultimately board to the train, as you can see in the first image. This means we were talking about this flow where you have the origin of the transit, drop off, going to the parking and drop off transit facility. From there, the passenger went for the transit facility, platform locations or the waiting area, and then to the coach locations or a train boarding point, any coach location or identification of coach positions. Now, for arrival passenger, the flow is this way, which is boarding platform to transit facility, then transit facility to parking or pickup areas, looking for the taxis or the autos. Then from there, the pickup points or the destination and to the city. Throughout this transit flow, passenger navigate through three distinct zones: the access zone, which is comprising of parking spaces, station offices and ticket counters, which is this one, ticket counters. And then there is a facility zone, which indicates retail spaces, waiting areas and luggage facilities, which is this zone. And then to the platform zone, which is where passenger embark and debark for the train, which is the last zone, which is the green zone. So in this way, we have broken our entire trip into segments. So plan for the trip. This segmentation approach enables planner to consider each phase of the journey in detail, ensuring that the transit flow is optimized by efficiently and conveniently. By understanding the spatial dynamics of each segment, one can create intuitive layout that will streamline the travel of experience for the passenger, enhancing the overall satisfaction and usability of the transit system. Let's go to the building analysis now. While doing the planning of a wayfinding and signage system for a building, several critical steps must be undertaken to ensure effectiveness and usability of both normal public, which is general public, and special need users. Let's take an example of a library building. For a journal user, potential user includes library patrons such as students, researchers and the member of the public visiting the building for an educational purpose. Each user group have many different destinations within the library, such as somebody will go into the reference sections, friction, non-friction areas, computer terminals or the children's sections. Wayfinding and signage system must consider the diverse needs and preferences of these users to provide clear guidance and enhance their overall experience. On the other hand, the special need users encompasses individuals with various disabilities, including sight impairment, mobility impairment, or cognitive impairment, or even the literacy impairment. For example, the user with the sight impairment may require braille signages or audio descriptions to navigate effectively, while individuals with mobility impairment may need wheelchair accessible routes and signages. Those with cognitive impairment may benefit from simplified, easy to understand signages to facilitate understanding. Addressing the need of special needs users is crucial for promoting accessibility and inclusivity in the built environment. By incorporating features such as clear signages and contrasting colors, tactile elements and intuitive navigation pathways, building can ensure that all the users, regardless of their abilities, can navigate the space independently and comfortably. For instance, in a library setting, Braille can be installed alongside visual sign to assist user and sight impairments in locating different sections of the library. Additionally, wheelchair accessible ramps and elevators can be provided to accommodate users with mobility impairment, assuring that they can access all levels of the building without difficulty. By considering the diverse need of both general user and special need users in the planning and design of the wayfinding and signage system, building can create environment that are inclusive, accessible and user friendly for all individuals. Now, understanding the day-to-day and seasonal operations. It is paramount when designing signage and wayfinding system for any facility. This knowledge allows us to tailor their solutions to meet the dynamic needs of environment, assuring optimal functionality and user experience. For instance, in a shopping mall setting, understanding daily operations involve identifying park timing of foot traffic and congestion points. By analyzing data on the visitor patterns and behavior, we can strategically place signages to guide shoppers effectively through busy areas and elevate congestion point during peak hours. Additionally, insight into daily operations, we can anticipate the potential bottleneck and implement science solutions that effectively mitigate these problems. Moreover, seasonal variations in operation present unique challenges and opportunities for signage and wayfinding. Holiday events and sales promotions often result in increased footfall and changes the layout of the facility. We as a designer must adopt signages accordingly to accommodate these functionalities and assure smooth navigation for visitors. For example, temporary signage may be installed in the highlight special promotions to direct shoppers to seasonal attraction within the mall. Many things you would also have seen in the malls, which these days have been followed. Also, by staying and attend to the day-to-day special operations of the facility, we can develop signage and wayfinding solution that seamlessly integrate with the environment, enhance user experience and contribute to the overall efficiency of the space. Through proactive planning and strategic design, facilities can effectively address the evolving needs of their operations while maintaining optimal functionality and accessibility for the visitor. Functional grouping of activities. It involves categorizing different areas based on their purpose. For example, in a hospital, groupings may include patient services, diagnostic services, treatment areas and support services. By offering signages around these groups, user can navigate complex environment more efficiently. Let's take another example of university campus. Functional group may include academic building, administrative offices, recreational facilities and dining area. By categorizing signages based on their grouping, student can easily locate the buildings and or the facilities they need to visit for their classes, administrative tasks, or any other activities or meals. Clear signages indicating directions to the academic buildings, administratives, sports facilities, and dining halls. These all help students to navigate the campus effectively, reducing the confusions and optimizing the time spent in searching for specific locations. In this way, functional grouping of activities and corresponding signage contribute to the overall organization and accessibility of complex environment, such as we discussed about hospital building, university campuses, or even a corporate offices. By aligning the signages with the functional layout of the facility, user can navigate them easily and optimize their experience for productivity within the space. Identifying changing elements. Identifying changing elements involve recognizing environmental or facility changes over time. This could include construction, renovation, operational or seasonal changes. For example, the changing elements in university campus may include walkway closure during construction, classroom placement, changes during semester, or the parking availability during the events, or the railway station construction. Design flexible wayfinding and signage system that can adopt the changes and guide user understanding these dynamic elements. If you see at the bottom of the slide, there are two images depicting the transit pathway of the same railway station. These images illustrate, this means this one and this one. They illustrates the difference of 6 months period attributed to ongoing construction activity. A temporary or a changeable signages can play a critical role during such transitions, adding passenger in navigating through the evolving layout and providing them with update information regarding alternate route or temporary closure is very important. So maybe with this we would have added a signage over here saying that there is a work going on, and maybe these signages which are actually put, maybe we can enlarge them with better contrast colors, putting the temporary indication that platform 6 and 7 there is a diversion and it will go from this side. You have to go from this side. You can also take a look to this side where the signages has been placed. It is a changeable signages which has this leaf where the name can change, the strip can be removable. So, in case somebody else who is occupying the room, we can change based on the change of the occupancy. Now, in the next part of building analysis, let's identify decision location of each user group. In building analysis of signages and wayfinding planning, decision locations for each user group must be identified. This includes entrances, navigational points where paths intersect and change directions, and user route for both pedestrian and vehicular. What is this decision point? Why it is so important? So, the decision points is a location where individual must choose a direction or a path to follow within a facility along a route. Suppose here, if I am standing here, I need to decide before entering into this premises that where am I going, where I have to go. So, person need to decide here where is the direction, which direction I need to go. Develop direction diagrams for each route. Creating a decision diagrams for each route to simplify the process. The diagrams show the sequential decisions passenger must take to navigate the space. Consider user movement, speed, walking or driving, surface textures and decision points, anxiety. These factors are vary depending upon the facility purposes. For example, in hospitals, it is different because there is a panic situation. Finding a facility immediately basis is very important. Whereas in the mall, this anxiety level might be not that much. Whereas catching a train or catching a bus, it's again increases the anxiety, and the facility, the phenomena of anxiety, the movement differs as compared to the mall building. Now, upon carefully examining the plan, it becomes evident that it depicts the layout of a airport building. If you see the plan, this one, this is half part of airport building, which has this departure area this side and VIP arrival and departure area this side. So, in the provided image, the departing passengers are represented with the green lines. So, this is the proper route of the departing passengers which are moving from here to the control, then immigrations and then boarding point. Whereas the red line actually indicates the arrival, which is this one, that too for the VIP. And here the departure of the VIP people. So, following the trip model, points of potential confusions are simultaneously identified in the primary decision points, denoted with the letter P. So, P actually indicate our primary decision points. So, you can see we are locating the P in particular places like here, 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 here and here. So, what are they indicating? If you see carefully, these are the points where person had maximum confusions, such as if I am entering from here, one has to decide which way to go. Should I go this way or this way? So, these are the potential and primary decision points where a person has to take the decisions where to go. Now, after this, since this area of was already in the queued was arranged, there was no such confusion which can be seen here. Whereas, the moment you come into the free area, again this decision has to be taken, whether it has to be go from this to this side or these rooms, right. Similarly, if we look at the arrival of the VIP side, we entering into the room hall, this is a decision points, where is the baggage claim or where I have to go, whether I have to go this side or I have to go that side. After coming to here, since most of the journey in the arrival, we take the luggage and go to the departure point. So, the S is actually indicating the secondary decision points. That means there also you need to decide, but they are not that important as compared to the primary. So, we will be studying the hierarchy of the signages, where we can understand this very easily. So, what is the primary messages and what are the secondary messages? Similarly, while doing this analysis, we need to make sure, so the primary confusion points, what will be the major points of confusion where most of the travelers will encounter. And in cases, suppose like I have my luggage lost. So, in that case, which happens very rarely or 2% in 100 of case, then in that case I must be looking for the inquiries or the staff offices or something. In that case, the secondary signages are needed. Okay. After analyzing this building, we can say that we can enhance the passenger experience by minimizing confusions, reducing congestions and ensuring smooth navigation through the terminal by adhering to these primary decisions and secondary decisions points, and ultimately contributing to the overall customer satisfaction and orientational efficiency. Let us take another example, developing a decision diagrams. Developing a decision diagrams of each route is essential to streamline the navigation process within a space. These diagrams offer a visual representation of the sequential decisions individual must make to successful navigation through the environment. It is critical to consider various factors such as user movement, speed, surface textures and the anxiety, as we told before. Similarly, let us take a hospital setting. The decision points may vary from those to the malls. Now, another example which you can see the image in the bottom, it is an example we have taken. We have done an experiment with 15 users navigating through a railway station. The red line in the diagrams, this ones, they are actually, this is a start point and this is a finishing point. These are actually indicating the flow, the red lines. So, overall flow, if you see, differs a lot. There are many people who got confused due to some signages issues. If you see carefully, the yellow circles, they are the confusion points. That means those are the points where they need to decide and they got confused due to some reasons. Most of the reasons are not the proper signages. So, this experiment actually tells us the need and importance of the signages, especially primary, because such buildings, the passenger has to work quickly to catch the train. They are always in the anxiety. Now, let us talk about some other points. The sight line. Sight line in each direction locations is essential to ensure that the signage remains within the user's line of sight. What is this line of sight? If you see in this image, this is the line of sight. Whereas, for a standing person, this would be the line of sight. So, this and this. For example, in a crowded airport terminal, consider a decision location where passenger need to choose between the different gates. It's crucial to ensure that the directional signage guiding them to each gate remains visible within their sight line without any obstacles, objects or structures. If there is an obstacle blocking this view, such as columns or a display or a signage, should be strategically located above head height to maintain visibility and guide user effectively. The first two pictures are clearly showing that how these signages are not in the sight line. See, one of the signages are these. The people coming out from the lift, it is impossible for them to view the signages which is installed at the very top. In case we want to install the lift signage over here, it would have been better if this have been installed at this location, maybe above the human height, but at least in the location and vertical to what it has been shown here, done here. See the second picture. If you see, the signages have been installed, maybe it is on the sight line, but it is coming and in the human height level. So, people, the passenger passing by on these are actually creating a hindrance to this signages, which is not visible for many of the peoples, maybe the behind peoples or the people who are going a little far from the signages. Okay. Now, a well planned lighting scheme is an integral part of our building wayfinding system, assuring clear visibility of information and safe navigation. It is suggested that area with a lot of foot traffic like lifts, ramps and circulation areas should have at least 100 lux of lighting levels. Lighting levels can be raised up to 150 to 200 lux in places like entrances, staircases and gates or lifts, right. So, 150 to 200 lux level is very important. It is also important that lighting must be consistent to avoid glare and shadows, which can make it hard to read sign and block your view of sight. Decorative lightings should be placed at such a way that it should not cast shadows on people's face, which can even make hard to read the people's lip movement. Especially becomes difficult for people with the hearing impairment, because sometimes they understand with the lip movement only. So, for them this becomes very important. Signage should be placed in such a way that the proper lighting should fall on it. This also impacts that if the surface is glossy or the matte. So, finishes also play an important role, that what kind of finish we are using on the signages. Good lighting not only makes the thing safer, but it also makes it easier to find your way by making sure that the signage lit up and with at least 200 lux of light, but yellow artificial lights shouldn't be used on the signages due to poor color renderings. The color differs. The color actually is not what it actually indicates in the yellow light. That is the reason. If there isn't enough natural light, the signage should be to be read with extra lighting may be needed. However, glare should be kept minimum so that the messages can be seen, especially by people who are blind or have low visions. Signages should be positioned in a way from reflective surfaces such as external glazing and internal illuminated transportation signages, and should be designed to prevent glares and maintain legibility. Now, let us talk about the messages, instruction for the messages that has to be communicated. We need to identify user needs and demography to develop the messages. The first step is to identify the need of the user, what visitor wants, who will interact with the signages. This may include understanding the demographic of the user, their primary language, is there any special requirements such as accessibility needs or so, or there is any technical navigation patterns within the building which needs to be included. Access facility layout. Next, we analyze the layout and features of the building to determine the key areas that require signages. This involves mapping out the different zones such as entrances, exits, restrooms, elevators, stairwells, offices, meeting rooms or other amenities. Consider the flow of traffic and common pathways taken by the user to ensure that the signage is strategically placed where it will be most visible and useful. Not like the before image where the signage was located at perpendicular to the lift location and was hardly visible. Determining the message priority. Once we have identified the key areas of the facility, we need to prioritize the messages that need to be communicated in each location. These messages may include directional information like the exit this way, instruction messages like push the button to open, or safety information like emergency exits, regulatory compliances like no smoking, or informal signages like room numbering and department names. Tailor messages to the audience. Crafting messages that are clear, concise and easy to understand for the intended audience. Consider using symbols, icons, universally recognized imagery wherever possible to improve the comprehension, especially with user with diverse linguistic and cognitive abilities like in India. Ensure consistency and clarity. Maintain consistency in messages throughout the building to avoid confusion, which is this one. Use a standard format, fonts, colors and symbols to create a cohesive visual language that user can easily interpret. Ensure that signage is legible from a distance and placed at eye level for optimum visibility. Test and iterate, which is testing signages effectiveness and user. Before finalizing the signage plan, conducting a usability testing to evaluate the effectiveness of the messages and their placement, the feedback and from the respective users to identify any area of confusion and improvement. Based on the feedback, make the necessary adjustment, optimizing the clarity and usability of the signage. Update, that is establish the maintenance of and maintain it. The signage needs may evolve over time due to changes in building layouts, user needs and regulations. Establish a plan for regular maintenance and updates to ensure that the signage remain accurate, relevant and effective in guiding user through the buildings. By following these steps and developing clear user-centered instructions and messages, building analysis in signage can help to create an intuitive and navigable environment that enhances the user experience and promotes safety and efficiency within the facility. Next, now we come to the nomenclature and numbering of any building. When we ask around, we usually find there's a lot of people, they don't know the floor number of a room unless told specifically. Despite its significance, we, the designers and the building managers, frequently overlook this oversight. Lack of global recognized standards for floor level identification also contributes to this inconsistency in India. Addressing the discrepancies in floor level identification. The standard practices is to label floor from ground, which is G, upward or downward. The problem arises when the building are on a slope or linked to the structure via pedestrian pathways or any other solutions to the building of different levels. So, you can see in this image, here you are entering at the ground level, here you are entering at ground 1, sorry floor 1. Elevator lobby can solve the problem by prompting displaying the floor levels information in the directory. The inconsistency in floor numbering practices also stem from the different conventions used by different buildings. Some buildings assign the ground level as 00, whereas so the room numbering begins with 001. Here 001. In the building where the ground floor is labeled as +1, the room numbering may start from 101. So, if it is numbered as first floor 1, so the numbering can start with 101. So, see the confusions. Some people might find that 101 would be at the first floor, and some people might see that okay, since it starts with the 1 and ground floor is numbered as 1, so it might be at the ground floor. This confusion is very prominent even the place I am visiting. Now, let us go when we to the detailed part of it, which is room numbering. When determining the floor and room number system, several factors must be taken into considerations for optimal usability and efficiency. What is the user's entry level? Where it is the starting point? How and from where it is entering? What is the sequence of travel? So, here the user entry level in this plan is from the lifts, from the staircase and the lifts. What is the sequence of the travel? That means how am I traveling? This red line actually indicating the same. So, in this sequence you might find that the moment we enter from here this side, we can see the rooms which are far from the these rooms are very far from these rooms. So, the sequence of travel will be from here. That is why the numbering starts from 1, 2, 3 and then coming to this side 4, 5, 6. Whereas, the moment we enter into doubly loaded corridors, which means that there is a room from in this side as well as in that side. So, those corridors are called as doubly loaded. That means you have to see this way left and right both. In that scenario, we need to give the numberings with even and odd. So, you can see here 409, 4010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 17. So, sequential or even odd numbering, as I explained you. Then there is a grid system and architectural sequences also. So, room numbering should follow the grid system of the building, taking into account the architectural sequence and possibility of room modification such as partitions. So, it has to follow the grid system, so that in case I have modified a room into 1 to 2, then it should not be, or it should be taken as in the consideration of A and B. So, next we go to the collaborative planning with other disciplines. As a signages designer, we not only work on graphics, information and planners, we also have to work with the urban designers, interior designers, lighting designers, since lighting is very important and we are working on the interior layout. So, the sync has to be built in. Security and management, that is which area is prohibited, which area is not allowed to be entered, or which area is under the surveillance. These signages are and their locations are very important. So, we have to coordinate with them as well. Then fire and life safety, where to put the fire and life signages, how will be the overall flow. The traffic engineering, so what traffic will be there. The highway as another domain which deals with different technical specialities. So, we are not going to that detail. Then accessibility, the signages, the locations of the parking, accessible parking, the accessible toilets. So, we have to coordinate with the accessible designers and landscape architecture. Landscape architecture, since the patterns of the outdoor urban design environment has been in sync with the landscape architects. So, we need to coordinate with them for overall patterns. Also, this is one of the project images which has been done by me in the past, where you can see this is the certain pattern which has been taken from the project, and it has been evolved, and the colors and the patterns for each block for building which has certain blocks of residence, retail, hotels have been used here. So, the patterns was developed to make everything in sync. Similarly, the pattern was also included in the landscape. We also need to coordinate with the advertising and branding people. The graphic, as I am telling you, that we have to develop the graphics from the pattern evolved. See, this is the same element which has been taken and then developed, and how it has been incorporated in the signages. So, colors, patterns have been incorporated with sync with the different departments. Then language translators, since using different language may be in different countries it is different. So, we need to coordinate with the people who are very efficient with those areas. They have to take a check of all the words and things which has been used in this. Now, we come to the last topic, which is your evacuation plan and signages. Here you see that the visibility, clear guidance for signage evacuation is very important. Signages in fire and life safety play a very important role. Maybe you would have seen the exit signages, which are the lit, this green, while you will be visiting the shopping malls or the movie theaters. So, these are the signages which actually are very important for evacuation and are installed for making people leave the building immediately in case of fire. They are separately designed, and this is the glimpse of a fire and life safety plans in which exit signs are located from where we need to show that the evacuation routes. So, on this that was it for this session. Now we come to the summary, what we have covered today. We talked about the building business case for signages and design project. How will you prove that your signage will be helpful for your building or your infrastructure? We also talked about how to make the transit trip layout. We talked about building analysis, how will we analyze the buildings, what will be the name and nomenclature, how will you keep the sequence in place, numbering system how will be used. Then we also talked about the collaborative planning and other disciplines, and the evacuation plan and exit signages. This are the list of references. This is it for this session. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this piece of literary snippet. Perhaps the most popular literary genre after novel is the short story. Sharp, compact narratives whose charm lies not only in what is said but also in what remains unsaid. Today I'll be reading one of the shortest instances of a short story that I have ever encountered, and indeed, the very charm of this particular story that I am going to read out today lies in the way it abruptly ends. It is an ancient tale from Mesopotamia which has been retold by several authors, among whom the name of Somerset Maugham stands out. The adaptation that I'll be reading out is perhaps the closest to the one that Maugham wrote. The story is titled, in all of its adaptations almost, as Appointment in Samarra. Here is the story. A merchant in Baghdad once sent one of his servants to the market. The servant was supposed to buy provisions for the merchant, but when he returned, he came back empty-handed. Indeed, the servant had all gone white, and trembling with fear, he told his master that he had met death in the marketplace. When I entered the market, the servant said to his master, I was jostled by a woman, and when I turned to look at her, I saw that she was death. I am very scared, master, because death looked at me with a threatening gesture. Can you please lend me your horse so that I can fly away from Baghdad to the town of Samarra and thereby escape death? The master, being a good man, gave his servant his best horse and saw him gallop off to Samarra to escape death. Then the master himself went to the marketplace and confronted death. Why did you make a threatening gesture to my servant? Asked the master to death. And death replied, it was not a threatening gesture. Rather, it was a start of surprise. I was astonished to see your servant here today, because this evening I have an appointment with him in Samarra. See you in the next episode of Literary Snippet.